Hi, Saida. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I wanted to know a little bit more about you. And I think, and I'm pretty sure that your audience does too. So that's why I asked you if I could have the honor to ask you the 21 questions. So you know the drill. I'm going to ask you 21 questions and I will set up my timer and you will have 10 minutes to respond to the 21 questions. But last time I wasn't able to finish in the 10 minutes. So if you need more time, we could definitely go beyond that. So are you ready?
I think so. I don't think I will finish in 10 minutes either. And I thank you for proposing this opportunity so that the roles are reversed and I understand what I put my guests through. So thank you. It's a pleasure to answer your 21 questions.
Perfect. So I'm launching the timer. 3, 2, 1. So what initially sparked your interest in Bitcoin and how has that evolved over time? Who orange pilled you and what orange pilling means?
So, what sparked my interest in Bitcoin? If I go chronologically, in 2016, when I was in Silicon Valley with my MBA, we were representing a Swiss company that specializes in art services and scanning art. And one of the proposals on the table was blockchain as a solution or to sort of figure it into the business model. And one of my colleagues, whom I messaged 2 weeks ago to confirm that my memory is correct, when blockchain came up, he was like, that's not what blockchain is for. And I was like, oh, okay, I won't say his name. I almost did. And his strong reaction sparked my curiosity. It was a signal, but I didn't follow up on that right away. And in parallel, my dad encouraged me to listen to the Kaiser Report. It was a few years after Occupy Wall Street. And so a combination of that experience, Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert, plus my own professional and personal experiences sort of all came together. And when I figured out Bitcoin and not blockchain or Ethereum or any of these other projects, it's like this magic thing that came together, and I pursued understanding and learning about Bitcoin to a maximum since then, and that was 2017. What was the other? There were multiple components to your question.
Of course. For the audience, what orange pilling means?
Orange pilling is a term to say, so it comes from the matrix, the red pill or the blue pill. And orange pilling is a term to say, I guess it's that click when you finally understand Bitcoin. So who orange pilled you? It could be a person. So I attribute my father indirectly, Max and Stacey, and that experience with my MBA colleague. And also life experiences, working in different business models and seeing things don't quite add up. Those things combined helped me to understand the why of Bitcoin. And I think getting the why of Bitcoin is like fundamental to understanding Bitcoin and being orange pilled, so to speak.
Nice. It's really hard to be in that position because as well I have so many questions. It's really hard. But just I'm gonna allow myself just this one. Could you say that the toxic maximalism of Max Kaiser, for example, or the guy who had that reaction with blockchain purposes, would you say that this is something we need to change things?
That is okay. So 10 minutes we're going over because I'm going to try to take my time. I'm going to try to take my time with this response. So having done marketing And having gone through sort of different segmentations and I'm trying to understand what people need, I realize, and it's, I think, common sense for a lot of people, that we as individuals, firstly, we don't always know what we need and when we need it. We kind of have this fuzzy idea, or we kind of think that there's a problem, but even diagnosing the problem itself is very difficult because causality is difficult to identify. So what is the root of this problem? Correlation can get confusing and stuff like that. And so for me personally, a toxic, jarring, visceral approach resonates with me because of the way I was raised. I grew up playing a lot of sports. I played basketball. I'm quite competitive. And so when people have that like instinctive reaction, I'm like, I need to pay attention to this. That's my sort of personal way of interpreting and understanding things. And so that works with me. But I know that for a lot of people, because I think that since 2017, I've probably spoken to hundreds of people about Bitcoin directly or indirectly. Depending on your cultural background, depending on where you are in your life, your level of confidence, how open your mind is, I think that's really important as well. Sometimes you need an actual experience where you're trying to transfer money and it just doesn't work. So it's like a pragmatic approach that makes you understand or helps you to understand the why of Bitcoin. Sometimes greed is actually, I'm going to sound like the Michael Douglas movie. Greed can be good because, you have, pardon?
Wall Street Never Sleep or that?
Greed is good because you want more and more and more, and in your quest to get more and more and more, you see that your fiat balance doesn't get you as far as it used to, and so that may be the motivator that helps you to look to other things. Sometimes when you're too greedy, you might go towards the poop coins and you get wrecked, and then you come back to Bitcoin. And some people...
The what you said?
You get wrecked?
The put coins? No, just
the poop coins.
That. What's that? The shit coins? The poop coins? I never heard that. Okay.
I always consider that my daughter may listen to this, so I try not to swear, so I say poop coins. Or like the poop emoji coins. But yeah, and then sometimes, like some people need a more nurturing approach. Like they need to understand the mechanics of the thing to understand. So there is no one size fits all. Toxic maximalism works for me because I don't take a lot of things personally. I just try to figure out where is this passion or toxicity coming from. Like I'm curious that way. And so that worked for me, but it doesn't work for everyone. And I try to respect, where the other person is coming from.
Great. So you said you've met and interviewed a lot of people in the Bitcoin space. What common trait or philosophy do you see in the people you've interviewed?
Again, so I don't identify one specific through line. I would say that some things that I find are quite recurrent is open-mindedness, curiosity. Oh, that's the thumbs up. I didn't expect that. Open-mindedness, curiosity, and then there are people who are specialists in specific domains, like computer scientists or passionate about cryptography or economics. And then something that's unexpected that I'm seeing more and more with my podcast is this notion of kind of on your life's journey, not quite fitting in for various reasons. And I find that is something that seems kind of common amongst Bitcoiners. It could be not fitting in culturally because, like in my case, my parents are from Trinidad and Tobago. Most of my family's still there. We've got family peppered in the UK, in the US. I'm born and raised in Canada. My parents put me in French immersion, which is not common for Toronto when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And so, I never sort of checked one complete box. I've always been part of multiple boxes. So I find that just having diverse influences prominent in your life kind of opens your mind to a different way of seeing things. And then, of course, there's the international perspective. The minute you have to send money or currency across borders, you understand a very important use case of Bitcoin. Yeah. And Canada and Switzerland, two Western countries, two first world countries, so to speak. And I still have issues with cross-border payments. Like, there are a number of trade-offs that I have to consider when I'm dealing with both regions.
Okay. How has Bitcoin... How has Bitcoin influenced your time preference? Do you find yourself thinking more long-term in your decisions, especially regarding relationships, marriage, and having kids? Or did you already have those long-term views before Bitcoin?
So I think I was born into a low time preference context. And so my parents have always...
Finish. 10 minutes.
How many questions was that? Like 3?
That's the third one. Yeah.
Not even close.
Not
That's
even
okay.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, so my parents have always been savers, and because of their journey, because they moved to Canada as young adults and they didn't have like resources in place, they really had to work and build from nothing. They didn't have a nest egg from their family. They didn't have contacts on the ground and stuff. So they really worked and built. And I think that they instilled that indirectly in my sister and me. So we saw that. We saw them like, you know, I guess you would call it low income housing, like when I was a young kid. And then we saw them like pay off their student loans and then, you know, buy their house and stuff. I was along and I paid attention because I gravitate to that type of thing throughout the entire journey. So that really stuck with me. And so when I got my first job when I was like 13 or 14, I always saved. Always. And then when I moved to Switzerland in 2008, something happened and I thought, you know what, like, F that. I'm going to like rebel as an adult and like live this, I guess, slightly more high time preference life. Which when I look back on it, it wasn't that bad, but still, like, I bought designer purses, I bought expensive watches, like I traveled a lot, like I just went buck wild kind of thing in my brain. And I'm grateful for that experience. I should have bought Bitcoin instead of doing those things. That is 100% guaranteed, but you know, what's done is done. And now that, especially now that I'm a mother, I revert back to, I would like to say my essence, you know, what makes me me, the way my parents raised me. Yeah, the values they instilled in me, and my time preference is just like, it's back to what I consider to be normal. And so saving is very important, like consistency with our daughter, our routines, all of those things are really important. You know, I see, it's so funny because all of these designer shoes and stuff, I've given away a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff is collecting dust. I'm like, maybe one day, but that day never comes. So it's, yeah, being a mom, being married, being a homeowner, and Bitcoin, those things together have definitely like drawn down my time preference.
Cool. Before attending meetups and starting your podcast, did you feel alone in your Bitcoin journey? And when did you decide to seek out community in person?
I felt extremely alone because if I spoke to colleagues, if even my husband, if I spoke to friends or family, except for my dad. My dad got it, and my dad was watching the Kaiser report beforehand, so he was exposed to it. But I just felt as though when I understood the why, it was so obvious to me, and I thought it would be important to speak to so many people about it because it impacts everything to do with your life. Like, even if we say that money's not important and we don't like money, it absolutely impacts everything. It impacts
everywhere.
the monetary supply, interest rates. It impacts your business or your company's investment decisions. It impacts your ability to buy a home, especially in Geneva. I know a lot of people who would love to buy even an apartment, and it's completely out of reach. When we bought in 2018, we managed to negotiate a decent interest rate. Since then, rates went up. They're coming back down, but prices have gone up 30% maybe, it impacts every single aspect of our lives. And because I like talking to people, I like economics and stuff, I figure that, people would want to talk about this, One guy was like, "Oh, Saida, you must be so much fun at parties. Like, why would you talk about this?" He was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we talk about other things, or I don't know, why don't we just drink or whatever, stuff that I'm not really into. So it kind of emphasized the fact that not too many people find this stuff entertaining, amusing, stimulating, and so I did feel alone, definitely.
Okay. And at which point did you decide to go at meetups and see the community in person?
So I think the first time may have been 2017 or early 2018. At the time, there was, I think her name is Sarah. I said that I would look her up again. She returned to one of our meetups last year, and she did Bitcoin presentations at Impact Hub, close to the train station, and close to Central Station Bar and Vinyl. And then in 2018, I went to the Crypto Valley conference in Zug, where I met another woman. I think she wants to be sort of anonymous now, so I won't say her name. But I had a lot of great conversations with her, and she encouraged me to listen to Andreas Antonopoulos. She is outstanding. She's been in Bitcoin since 2016, and she shared a lot of her experiences with me. And then after that, I think it was Montpellerin. They did another sort of workshop on a different blockchain, and I thought, I'd go just to see, what it's about and stuff like that. And that was 2018. And then, other stuff happened. I got married. We bought this place. We renovated. I got pregnant shortly thereafter. And I thought, I don't feel like going to meetups being very pregnant. I went out a bit, but that was a separate journey and stuff. And the beer to beer, or some of the some of the spots where these things would happen, I didn't feel comfortable being pregnant and being around, some of the types of people who could be around and stuff. So, with substances and stuff. So I just didn't go. And then there was this kind of pause thing because I gave birth in October of 2019. And I thought, this is the maternity part of things. And then and I'll just resume on this in-face sort of Bitcoin journey. And then COVID happened, and then,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your favorite aspect of Bitcoin, and why does it resonate with you personally?
I don't have one.
Okay.
So I absolutely love, and I'm still floored by my ability to send and receive transactions across borders. I think it's absolutely amazing. Okay. With the Lightning Lightning Network now and the new capabilities. So some of these solutions that I'll mention later on are custodial indeed. So I maintain small balances on them, and I think that they're still in the building phase. So this is just like a path that it has to take. But the ability to send and receive transactions to anyone in the world is still amazing to me. And then after that... Huh?
And anytime.
Anytime. I mean, I know it's one of your questions later on, but last night I stayed up as well. I went to bed at 12:30, which is extremely late for me because Men Like Quakes, who is an amazing Bitcoin artist, like his music is so good. He organized a dance battle in Tanzania, and it's streamed on Nostr, which is a platform that's being developed for artists. So if you're a singer, if you are a dancer, if you are a performance artist and you want to stream live and have people zap you or send you small, like micropayments, small parts of Bitcoin while you perform, you can do that. So I stayed up, and in the audience you had, so I'm in Switzerland, you had people from the US, you had people from, they didn't say where they're from because they want to maintain their NIM status, you know, and it's amazing. And so I guess it's all tied together because the fact that, so I love that you can send transactions to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And maybe the consequence of that is that you get to know people from all over the world in a different way. Like, I guess they're somewhat tied together. And all of a sudden, your exchanges with them become about things that you have in common or things that you want to build in common. And it's not this forced kind of like, you know, diversity and inclusion, I'm saying this on purpose, you know, perspective. It's very real. It's very authentic. So I guess the authenticity that I'm experiencing in Bitcoin is one of my like favorite aspects of it.
Oh, that's so cool. And I think I was there when you did the live with the artist, and he was talking about helping that dancer. So that was the... Okay, cool.
Definitely.
So cool.
And that live was on Zapstream.
Yeah. Yeah, so cool. This is the bonus question. So some people might think that being part of Bitcoin is all about following the price. From your experience, what would you say to beginners who are curious about Bitcoin but might not know where to start? Should they go to events like Lugano, Plan B, Bitcoin Amsterdam, etc.?
So to any beginner or to any person, if they ask me, the first question I'd have for them is, why are you interested in Bitcoin? And that should be your jump off point. So if you are interested in Bitcoin because you're trying to send money back to your nephew in Canada, then based on that initial sort of need, you explore maybe a meetup where they're doing like a Bitcoin basics sort of presentation, or if you see at a conference that they have a side workshop where they talk about that, then select it. If you are interested, like a lot of people, in getting rich quickly, I would say to you, you explore, and you'll see that you won't get rich quickly. This is proof of work. It's consistency. It's a lot of other things. But go out there and like try to find your path to get rich quickly, and then come back to me and tell me how it goes. And so I would say, like, fundamentally, it depends on what your needs are, which means you have to know yourself. You have to know, what your cash flows are. You have to know just what you need out of Bitcoin.
Good. I agree, by the way. How do you think Bitcoin can play a role in helping the development of emerging regions such as Africa? Is there potential for real economic empowerment through Bitcoin there?
That is a very good question that I give a lot of thought to, and I don't have a definitive answer to that. So from a sort of high-level political standpoint, I have no idea how Bitcoin can help in that it is a tool, and so politicians would have to agree that this is a tool that will be in use. I saw that, for example, Russia and the BRICS nations are looking at, they say crypto. I don't know the full details whether Bitcoin will be involved, but they're looking, or the mBridge project, they're looking at solutions to help facilitate trade in light of this current environment where Russia is sanctioned, right? So that's a high level, that's way beyond my pay grade. I have no idea how that will pan out. On an individual level, from my experience, so it's not statistical data that I'm referencing, I'm just talking about my experience. I see at least two components to how Bitcoin helps emerging markets or the global south or whatever. Number one, the level of individual and self-empowerment that I see in people in Tanzania, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Namibia, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, once they understand, obviously, like everyone, Bitcoin, and once they start to transact in Bitcoin and provide services in Bitcoin, the level of individual empowerment is amazing, and it becomes exponential because then they share it with their brothers, their sisters, their friends, the dadas, as they say in Kenya, the other women, the Bitcoin dadas. And so that just grows exponentially from the ground up, which is amazing. And the other component too, as a Westerner, as someone who is born and raised in Canada and who lives in Switzerland, through the ease of doing transactions across borders and subsequently getting to know people through what they're good at. So through music or through organizing or through founding a company or through like coordinating, miners in Ethiopia, like getting to know people through what they're good at totally destroys the bias or the myth that I may have grown up with that, Africans, very generally speaking, they don't have resources, or they're not educated, or they need our help in the West, or all of these things are simply destroyed because they are free to act and to have agency because their currency doesn't have them limited. And I think from that perspective, as long as we continue trading and exchanging across borders, it'll help simply because, we'll just see what they do. Proof of work, it's no longer about ideology. It's really about experience.
Oh, that's so good. I like it. We all have a favorite podcaster or author. Who are yours?
So at the time, it wasn't a podcast. It was a news show, so the Kaiser Report, and I was very sad when they went off the air, and I respected their decision to do so because they were on RT, and as soon as Russia struck, they said, we're going to stop. This is the Kaiser Report with Max and Stacey, so that was my favorite. And then old school, I really enjoyed Andreas.
I don't get it. Why they stopped? What was the thing?
The Kaiser Report was on RT, which I think stands for Russia Today. And as soon as the conflict broke out with Ukraine, they stopped immediately because they don't advocate for war, which I respect. And so their show went off the air, which made me feel sad, but I understand. And then they had the Orange Pill podcast for a while, which I watched. And now that they're doing so much work, which is totally respectable, in El Salvador with Bukele, for the people of El Salvador, they're not producing content as consistently. So for me personally, it makes me feel sad, very selfishly, but what they're doing is for the greater good of so many people that I respected. So initially it was the Kaiser Report, and then Andreas Antonopoulos, his YouTube videos, his books. his podcast. I think his podcast was called Speaking of Bitcoin, and he had two other co-hosts, and I really enjoyed the balance of the discussion that they had. And then later on, obviously, Saifedean Ammous, I really enjoyed. And I liked the Bitcoin Standard a lot, but right now, I'm very much appreciating the fiat standard, specifically when Saifedean talks about companies using credit as part of their business model to generate revenues. I pay closer attention to that because to me, it's a signal that, there's something deeper going on. Like their core business is not viable, and therefore they have to resort to credit, which makes me think about, a bunch of other things. So, Saifedean Ammous, and now I'm starting to enjoy content related to the social layer of Bitcoin. So on Fountain, through Man Like Quakes, I discovered a podcast called Radio Detox. The host is called Heather. I forget her last name. And she has spent 20 years in radio, in traditional radio. And now she has her podcast that's only streaming on Nostr and I think maybe Waveflake. And so she looks at music, Bitcoin, and the social layer. She talks about her journeys in sort of the fiat entertainment industry, and she explores Bitcoin from that angle, which to me is very new and fresh. And I think it was yesterday, I listened to her interview with, I forget his name, but he's the individual who is the CFO of a traditional, I guess, music or entertainment company. And he's the one behind Tunster. And they were just, they just talk about music and sort of the social aspect of Bitcoin and the tools that can be built out around it to help independent artists. And so I'm starting to appreciate that aspect of things, like, the more social and artistic aspect of these Bitcoin tools.
Yeah. And the utility.
And the utility, of course.
Oh, yeah. What's the most exciting or innovating thing you've seen in the Bitcoin space recently that people might not be paying enough attention to? Is that what you just said, or?
Well, okay, so time is relative, especially in Bitcoin. When you say recently, do you mean like the past 6 months? Or do you mean the past year, 2 years?
Past 3 years.
3 years?
It's 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so we're in 2024. I think Kodatsu KG released Machinkura, which is available in, I think, 6 or 7 countries on the African continent in 2021 or 2022. So I'll say Machinkura, which enables users to send Bitcoin over feature phones or dummy phones or the old Nokias. I still think that that's absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
So
can you explain a little bit? I think people don't know that we can send Bitcoins through phones.
So it is I think it's still a custodial service. A user can get an Azteco voucher. Azteco is another company headed by, on X, his handle is @beautyon_, I think. And they are Bitcoin vouchers. You can buy them somewhere or download them. You can load up your feature phone. And in order to get started, you have to press star, your country code, and then your number. And then from there, you can walk through and you can go to any grocery store or peer-to-peer. Like if, I sew a dress for you, you want to pay me kind of thing. You can actually use that service to send and receive Bitcoin. And I learned that, it's available on WhatsApp as well. So this is a solution that fulfills the need for a specific segment of this, I guess, payments market. If you are in a remote area and your internet isn't very solid, if for whatever reason you don't want to have a smartphone, you don't want to be tracked, and you want to use a dummy service, like it checks a lot of boxes. And from my knowledge, it's available in, I think it's 6 or 7. I have to check the website again, but 6 or 7 countries on the African continent. So that was within the time frame you allotted. I think it was 2021 or 2022. That's pretty cool. And Lightning capabilities as well. So Albi Hub, I'm starting to explore that a little bit more. They're building out their service offering pretty well. So you can connect your Lightning node to Abla, to Nostr, to a lot of different protocols or applications, so that, you know, if you write a blog, for example, someone can zap you. What else is there? Obviously, there's Tunster. Nostr is just really cool, and all the clients and apps that are being built out are cool. There's Zapstream. There's Proton as well, that just introduced its wallet where you can receive Bitcoin by email and stuff. I have an invitation. If you want one, let me know and I'll send it to you. It's someone, I don't want to say his name just in case, but someone from the Bitcoin Meetup gave me an invitation, and so I can share one with you. So there's a lot going on. I'm excited about a lot, and I wish I had more time to fully test out everything.
Yeah, sure. Just on that, for those who are also interested in finance, the finance aspect of Bitcoin, I think we listen a lot of Michael Saylor content. Is there before Michael, after Michael? What was that for you in your Bitcoin journey, or is that not relevant?
So before Michael Saylor, I'm always learning. But before Michael Saylor, from a finance perspective, I did listen predominantly to Max Kaiser and a lot of the guests who were gold bugs that he had on his show. And then there's still a few websites that would start tracking companies that had Bitcoin on their balance sheets, or companies. I used to work in oil and gas for a long time, and I'm in touch with a few former colleagues, and I've been trying to get them for like 2 or 3 years now to find a way to either incorporate Bitcoin in the production process, treasury, like flaring gas, or in a different capacity to their business model. It's very complicated for different reasons and stuff, but there were a few companies that did have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. A retail company that's well known is Tahini's, based out of Canada. They make oh my god, I can't believe I don't remember what it's called. Not falafels. They make anyways, they make Middle Eastern food. I forget the name. I'll remember later. But they famously came out and said that they hold Bitcoin. And then Michael Saylor came along, and I thought, oh my goodness, like, this is incredible, because he is the CEO at the time, now he's chairman, of a publicly traded company. And he actually is vocal about his Bitcoin strategy, like having Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And back then, when I was still on LinkedIn, I don't like LinkedIn, but I still posted from time to time on LinkedIn. I remember I posted something and people are like, that's not responsible. Bitcoin's a scam, whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, it takes cojones for the CEO of a company to try something like this, because if it doesn't work, he's going to crash and fail. Like, this is something.
Skin in the game.
Exactly.
This is the ultimate skin in the game. But for me, it doesn't take that much cojones, but it's more about the amount of hours he spent studying it. And so it's in correlation to his knowledge about Bitcoin, I think, or about money and finance.
As an individual, yes. It is said that, like, Tim Cook, for example, understands Bitcoin, holds Bitcoin. Mark Zuckerberg understands Bitcoin, holds Bitcoin. But when you are a company, so when Michael Saylor first made the announcement, I just went to, I don't know, maybe it was like Yahoo Finance or something, to check out who the institutional shareholders are of MicroStrategy. And it's like, I could be wrong, but it's the typical ones: BlackRock, Vanguard, whatever. From what I understand, he is like the primary shareholder, so he has a lot of executive rights. Like, he can actually dominate and make a decision. And so, but even still with that, you know, some of these guys move in circles where it's not just about being right or wrong. It's also your reputational risk. There's a lot of other things that go into it. So if you understand something and you move and you're too early and it doesn't work, but it works on a longer time horizon, it's the same thing as being wrong. So in my opinion, it took a lot of courage for him to do something completely different than what you learn at business school, than what you learn, you know, in Harvard Business Review. He just did something and it's paying off very well. So I thought that that was outstanding. And then with time, I thought, because like these institutional shareholders still have a small portion of MicroStrategy, I thought to myself, well, maybe this company is kind of like a test, because it's not a huge company. Like, I forget what the market cap was at the time, but it's still a small company, publicly traded, yes, but small. And so if this company crashes and burns, the lessons learned on how to actually raise capital, what your capital structure is in order to buy Bitcoin, can be retained and used elsewhere. And so I went from this is amazing to this is a really good test for BlackRock. And then a few short years later, BlackRock announces its ETF model and stuff. And so, yeah, as part of the board, you're going to see paper, you're going to hear discussions, you're going to bounce ideas off of each other and stuff. And so I think that, I think that this era of, corporates were involved before, but like big corporates, like I think Franklin Templeton or whatever the company is called now, they're announcing an ETF. Like, this era is pretty cool, because even 4 years ago, I mean, people would have laughed if you said that this was going to happen so quickly. But I hope that it doesn't discourage individual plebs into learning about Bitcoin because they think that it's only a financial instrument, one, or they say, oh, it's part of my pension plan anyway, so I don't need to bother about it. So this is an interesting era.
Yeah, that's the risk for me, and that's why we need to keep doing what we do. So next question, is being married hard, and can the concept of proof of work be connected to a successful marriage?
Yes and yes.
Let's go.
Yes and yes. Okay. Yes. I mean, living with people for a long period of time is challenging because, I mean, even like when I lived by myself, it was challenging, you know, like life, it's just life, it's human nature. And, proof of work is really important. And I would say it's super important when you have children, because that routine and that foundation, in my personal opinion, is fundamental into helping to nurture and build a person who will be a productive citizen and who will contribute to the community. It's really important. And so when you have two people who've got strong personalities, you know, I'm quite competitive. I'm out there. I'm like, you know, I like to move and stuff. My husband is the same. He's a beast in his own right. I mean, it's hard to make concessions on your time. And so the constant dialogue and the scheduling and the shared calendars and the trade-offs and this is the bigger picture. So I can't participate in this, and that is okay. Like, all of these things, they add up. A one-off is fine, but, you know, after a few years of these trade-offs, it can be really difficult. And so the proof of work is also proof of communication and a strong value system and a dedication to a shared long-term goal. So
I like the sentence that you just said, like the bigger picture. So does that mean that you need to have like a vision, to get a vision of the family, and then the relationships is towards that?
I would say so, definitely. And I mean, again, I don't want to give advice to anyone because my life is not perfect. You know, I'm not trying to, tell people how to live. I'm just speaking about my experience. And without vision, without that goal or that destination or that thing that you're working towards jointly, you think, well, what is the point of me not, I don't know, what is the point of me not going to Nashville for the Bitcoin conference? You know, like, why don't I just pick up and leave? It really helps because opportunity cost looks differently when you're working towards something bigger than yourself. When it's just about you, you can just get up and go and not think too much or not plan too much because you have your own internal vision that you don't necessarily have to communicate with anyone else, but it is, it's different. You need that joint vision, I think.
Yeah, because I see that a lot of people don't get married right now, and sometimes it can be correlated to what we call the death of religion. You know, like this sentence of God is dead. And for me, it's like, and that's why I asked the question, is because before people would have this imposed vision, that is the religion vision. And so everything is set there. And so they go into a relationship and they get married because they have this vision. But for those who are not necessarily extremely religious, the way for them is to have a vision together, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Yeah, that is...
That's deep.
It is deep, and I find it very difficult to dissect as well, just based on my lived experience and the people that I know, because I know of couples. I remember a few years, like more than 10 years ago, I went to a wedding with a colleague from Canada. She is Jewish. Her husband is Catholic. And they managed, and I think that they are both from a sort of, they're not materialistic, but from they both wanted the same things, like a home renovation projects and stuff. So from that perspective, they're aligned. And it was kind of cool because I think they found a female rabbi and a priest who were willing to do a joint ceremony and stuff. And so it's an anecdote, but it's just to say that I know of quite a few people who have different religious beliefs and who manage to get married and start a family. How long that lasts, I don't know. I hope it lasts a long time, but I kind of feel as though maybe you're right. In place of God, people have joint projects. The projects become, maybe you're right.
Yeah, religion, family, etc.
Yeah.
Cool. You've traveled to international conferences and meetups. What's the most surprising or meaningful interaction you've had there?
So surprising, I met Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert. I need to stop talking about them, but still, I watched them for years, so it was really cool to say hello. I watched you. My dad told me to watch you. Thank you. Like, that was very cool. And in Madeira, it was a cool experience. I was there with Manu. I always with my accent, I always hesitate before I say his name because I want to say Manu instead of Manu. Okay. Yeah. So on X, he's at Wine Lightning. We were there, and at one moment, he went to buy water. and he ran into the Prince of Serbia, I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And then he returned with the water. I ran into, on X, he's at I Hate 1999. He's a Bitcoin Core contributor from Nigeria, with Femi, another guy from Nigeria. I was like, oh, I follow you on Twitter. How are you? And then there was another guy from China, a Chinese miner. And in that moment, it was like, so Canadian, Swiss, Nigeria, China, and we're all standing there talking.
that's so wonderful.
And that's pretty cool, right? Like,
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's so cool. And yeah, I totally agree. That's so good. And for the first part, for the Max Kaiser report, and I think podcaster has now an impact on people's life that we underestimate. And 2 days ago, I was with my father, and he was excited because he bought himself like it's not a concert, but like a show ticket in presence, where the podcast has been listening for more than 30 years. They're going to do some shows in cities and just doing the show in front of people so that he can interact with them. That's I think yeah, that's so cool.
That is a really cool concept.
Yeah. For you, which make more sense, Keynesian economics or Austrian economics, and why?
So globally speaking, I do believe that Austrian economics makes more sense. And I would say on paper, because in my lifetime, I've never lived in a system that is based on the concept of sound money. And so, or sound money. So what do I mean by sound money? I mean that money or currency that cannot be quote unquote printed out of thin air, or where open market operations don't occur, where like, I guess the Fed buys assets and in return injects more currency into the market. I've not lived through a gold standard, for example. So I would say in principle, Austrian economics seems to make more sense on paper, but I lack that experience and the historical research to confirm my belief. So this is what I believe. And if I can talk about, again, firsthand experience and observations during COVID, a few, I guess, economists who are from the Austrian school warned that there would be a lot of money printing as a result of COVID. There were references to, I think Macron gave a speech where he talked about COVID and he sort of spoke about it like it was a war. And the idea that in wartime you do print money, like it's the perfect excuse to. And Macron's not the only one, but he's just the one who comes to mind immediately. Yeah. And so I thought, oh, okay, I'm parking this point that this person is making, and I will see what actually happens. And lo and behold, a lot of currency was printed after COVID. The discussions, inflation is coming. It was because of the supply chain backlog, all those boats that were stuck and stuff and whatever. That cleared up. The prices of things have still gone up. Another reference, we bought our place in 2018. COVID was like 2020. I don't see markets forces being the only reason why like prices have gone up 30+%. So I would say that it would seem as though even if a Keynesian sort of market or financial approach can work for a certain period of time, if you find that right sort of like debt to GDP level, we are at the time where it's no longer sustainable or feasible and it can't work. How long will this experiment continue? I don't know, but I would say that we're probably closer to the end than to the beginning.
That's a super answer, and I think that people should be worried and scared because you are saying that and you are living in perhaps under the best currency in the world. So that's crazy. And for those who want, it's not a financial advice, but I think it's financial education or literacy to understand that your position is the best because you are on the right side of the Keynesian trade, which is acquiring assets, because that's where you can receive that extra printed money, and not on the other side where you only save in Swiss francs or traditional currency. So that's a cool thing to know. Do you work full-time on Bitcoin? And if not, would you like to? What would be your dream role within the Bitcoin ecosystem?
I do not work full-time in Bitcoin. I would love to work full-time in Bitcoin. And I don't know what my dream role would be. So since April, I've been trying to develop my podcast and I guess my brand as best as possible. Yeah. I suck at branding. I'm so grateful. The Orange Manufacturing Group, OMG 21. Fantastic merchandise. They agreed to sponsor one of my episodes, and we're working together to see if we can come up with I guess, common synergies so that it's like value for value. We're looking at different models and stuff, and the person behind it is so helpful in terms of branding and my logo. Like, he directed me to a certain site. There's ongoing now, like a bunch of designers are pitching ideas to me and I'm going through them and I'm sharing them to say, what do you think of this? Because I went to business school. I know that branding is super important, but it is not my forte at all. And so, like, I'm going through this whole process, which is consuming a lot of time. But so I don't know what specific capacity that I would love. But I do know that I love talking to people. I do know that I love looking at customer insights and sort of like segmentation and what common groups are, and then find different ways and strategies to communicate with them. I do know that I love hosting. I love the interactive aspects of things, and and I'm pretty okay in like finance as well. Like, obviously I had to do a lot of financial analysis and stuff in the past, and I've got like my CGA level 1, which is like accounting in Toronto and stuff. So I had to go through like all of those like basic accounting courses and stuff. But yeah, I don't know in which capacity completely, but I would love to do it. I think it was in 2022 or 2023. I did some work with Satoshi's Journal, like a Bitcoin company. I got paid in Bitcoin, which was like pretty cool as well. Wow. And I think the official title on the website was like Business Inclusion Manager or something, but it was more like, it's a startup sort of publication. So it's more like finding its voice and finding the right routing and stuff. But I would love it. And in the meantime, I enjoy this is your podcast, but I enjoy asking Bitcoiners 21 questions because from a very personal standpoint, I learned so much. I feel very fulfilled, and it really does help with the sense of community that I'm developing in the Bitcoin space.
So cool. It goes with that question as well. As a podcaster and content creator, what do you think are the best ways for creators to get paid using Bitcoin? And are you experimenting with these payment methods?
Yeah, so I guess the traditional method of having an advertiser or a sponsor is still like it's an obvious choice, and then ask to get paid in Bitcoin. You know, if you're in a space where it's only Bitcoin, chances are that is more likely to happen. If you are in a space where it's the intersection of like music and Bitcoin or something else, maybe the company that's interested in reaching your audience doesn't like is not a pure Bitcoin company, but you can still ask them to pay you in Bitcoin separately. And then there are these apps that I mentioned earlier that I'm still discovering, like Fountain, which is a podcasting app. And they also have a bit of music as well. So my podcast is there from time to time.
Okay.
I'll get a boost of like, you know what? Let me just check now so I can tell you. I get boosts from time to time, and it's really nice. It makes it puts a smile on my face. It's not a lot, so so like 100 sats, for example, or 500 sats.
And that's people just sending individually some sats.
Yeah,
to you.
Or 39 sats here, like or 21 sats. It's really cool, and so
cool.
It is. If you, even if you podcast about like knitting, for example, you know, some people love knit, du tricotage.
Okay.
You know, like I'm just saying this randomly. You put it on Fountain. If there are other people who enjoy learning about this discipline, they can send you a few sats to show their appreciation. And it's also a way for you to start learning about Bitcoin, even though the content of your podcast, the subject, has nothing to do with Bitcoin at all.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool.
Yeah, value for value.
Value for value, yeah.
So how are you on Nostr, and what's your view of decentralized social media platforms and solutions like Fedimint's protocol and Fedi Company?
So I am not experienced with Fedimint. So Fedimint is the protocol and Fedi is the app. I think that's what Mary explained to me. Mary is the global marketing manager of Fedi, and she answered 21 questions like 3 weeks ago or something. Oh, and so she explained it to me. Yeah, it seems really cool. But I won't speak on Fedi because I'm not experienced enough with it to give my honest impressions of it. Nostr is really cool. I wouldn't call it social media though. It's a platform or it's a protocol, and you can access it using different clients or applications. And depending on what client you're using will dictate the type of experience you have. So, for example, there is on Fountain, if I zap something on Fountain, it can show up on Nostr as well. So the way you interact with the protocol can depend on the application or the client that you're using. And I think it's actually really cool. I've gotten into the habit of, on a Tuesday morning, after my judo class Monday night, I dedicate 5 minutes to just reflect on what I learned from my judo class, or questions that I have, or challenges, mostly challenges that I face. And I'll write it on through the Demas app on Nostr. That's what I use on my iPhone. And this past Tuesday we did Aikido wrist grabs, 1, 2, and 3. And so I just described what they were.
I don't know what's that.
Aikido. Martial arts?
Aikido. Okay.
Yeah.
But 1, 2, and 3, what's?
Yeah, the wrist grabs. So, like someone grabs your wrist, I can't do it on myself, but like the circle to get out of it, and like the waves when you lock. So it's elbow, wrist, and wrist, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So in order to remember it, because it's the first time I looked at it, I woke up. I thought of it because my judo class ends at like 9:30 in the evening. I come home, go to bed, wake up, it's still in my brain. And so I write the notes down, and on Nostr, I'll just write it down, and people will reply saying, try this, or that's great, keep going, or whatever. Like, it's really nice. It's not my experience.
It's not Twitter.
In any case. Yeah, it's
nice
very
people.
nice. Yeah, so you get the feedback. And because it is not based on an ad revenue model, in my feed, it's what people post, and it's chronological. which is cool. You just what you see is what you get. You just scroll and you see what people are posting, and if there's something that resonates with you, you interact. If not, no. And I don't see ads from things that have nothing to do with me. Like it's really nice. Like it's a great headspace. But the downfall to that as well is that if I'm not online at the same time as different people and stuff, I'm going to miss posts. So I have to go to their profile and check. Like, it's not perfect in terms of like it's the user interaction, but it is still really nice. Like it's a relief.
Oh, so cool. That's a long one. So yeah, for me, Bitcoin was easy to get into because I'm kind of a finance guy and kind of a nerd as well. Yeah. So I see Bitcoin at the intersection of computer science, science fiction, and economics, and the history of economics. And so this is for me a good way to explain Bitcoin or to get someone into Bitcoin. I would suggest them two movie, I think. So the first one is Ready Player One. It's more for the computer science aspect, like understanding the use case of cryptocurrency in a game, and also because there is a human god creator figure. So for me, it's a little bit like Satoshi, and there is a magic key and all the narrative around it. So I don't know why, but for me, this movie speaks to me in regards to Bitcoin. And then the movie The Big Short. So this is one of my favorite one. And in that movie, people can understand the banking sector and how the financial system works, or don't work because it's broken, but at least they get to have a first view on it. And then I will give them some Bitcoin movie or documentaries. We have a good one in France. It's Le Mystère Satoshi. I don't know if it's translated yet, but this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my question is that after attending dozens of Bitcoin events, I don't see a lot of women in there. And perhaps because we focus too much on the tech, the economics, etc. of Bitcoin. So, for example, my woman's friend who likes Bitcoin, or they prefer the community and the social aspect of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What can we change to attract more women into Bitcoin?
Oh, that is not an easy question to answer, because I would say that visibly what we can measure, it's disproportionately men. Obviously, if you look at if you look at X, if you look on Nostr, you can like quantify, the ratio between men and women.
Yeah.
But that may not necessarily mean that there aren't a lot of women in Bitcoin. There may be women who choose not to be vocal about it. So I'd like to say that. I know, like the woman I mentioned earlier, who's been in Bitcoin since 2016, and I met her at the Crypto Valley conference in 2018. She decided to pull out, to withdraw, to not be vocal. And she's been at this for a long time. I know that in her region, she did meetups and conferences and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that she has orange-pilled quite a few people over the years. But, we don't hear about it. And the other thing too, so from, I guess, a Western sort of general perspective, is that some women aren't as vocal, just in general, or we're not as competitive as men are in some respects. I've got a big mouth. When I like something, when I think something will help people, I will shout it from the rooftops, but not everyone has my, I guess, personality or disposition, which is probably a good thing. And then if I look at other regions that I've been exposed to, I immediately think of Kenya and Marcel Lorraine and the amazing work that she's doing with Bitcoin data, where I don't know how many cohorts of women have gone through, have graduated, are starting their own businesses. Like Sabina, she's the founder of the Tando app that's just been rolled out, and they're building it out and stuff. So I think, I'm not sure if the question should be asked, how do we get more women in Bitcoin? I would say, like, what are women in Bitcoin doing and what problems are they solving? And then going back to the initial thing that I said, as an individual, why do you gravitate to Bitcoin? Like, what problem does it solve for you? And sort of take that approach as opposed to like the gender approach.
Okay. Can you share a bit about your involvement with the Geneva Bitcoin Meetup?
Oh, yeah. So, So, where do I start?
When did you start? When did you start?
2021 or 2022. Is it? It was still during COVID lockdowns, I think. And I had stopped breastfeeding, and I felt comfortable leaving my daughter. My husband is a very good man. He's safe, but still, as a mom, she was still pretty small. But, in the evening, like in my brain, I felt okay with my decision to meet up at 8:00 on a Wednesday evening with strangers, as opposed to staying time with my daughter. Like, that's the dynamic that was going through my brain at the time. So I think it was 2021. I started going to the meetup again, because I had stopped when I was pregnant and whatever. And I think the first person I saw was Palto, who had just returned. It was September. He had just come back from the Surfing Bitcoin conference in Biarritz. And I didn't know anyone. And so, I'm on my phone maps looking up and stuff. And I saw this guy wearing a Bitcoin t-shirt, and I'm like, maybe he's, So I introduced myself, and I'm like, hi, I'm Saida, very sort of Saida idealistic kind of thing. And so I started going, and then, maybe it was 2022, because last August, the infamous debate returned about where the meetup, where the beer to beer should be held after there were no presentations. It was like, where should we have the meetup? Because part of the group loves Central Station Bar and Vinyl Club, and the other half absolutely hate it because it's a dive bar, because people with substance problems hang around the area. I'm trying to be, euphemistic with the way I say. See, exactly. So the debate sparked up again. I wasn't at the table, and I won't say his name. One person said, "You will look after it," and I'm like, "Look after what?" And he's like, "Find out if there are other bars." And then in the Telegram group, I think it was last year, it was like, we need another bar. What about this bar? What about this bar? Why don't you call? So I called a few bars in Geneva. Yamba Bar, which is close to Jonction, which is, I would say, pretty nice. It's not too far from the train station. A few other bars. I called them. They were all like, yes, we'd be willing to have a group of 20 people come once a month, whatever. They were very open. I submitted everything to the group, and they were like, no, or the people who wanted it didn't respond, or they didn't show up, or whatever. And then from there, I won't say his name, but he was like, well, you're responsible for the meetup kind of thing. And I'm like, what? And so in my brain, because I had at that time a short-lived podcast as a spinoff of my work as a diversity and inclusion consultant. It was called Foster Inclusion. And I was also working with Satoshi's Journal, where I met Kodatsu, who is the founder and magic man of Machinkura. I remember thinking, oh, this could be a really cool opportunity to sort of have presentations from people who aren't part of like the Swiss ecosystem. Because in our side conversations at the bar, I talk about different projects and I went to El Salvador as well, and I talked about that, and there were very strong opinions, and I'm like, actually, I don't think you've experienced this, because if you did, like, you wouldn't have this sort of mindset. And so the very first meetup, which I think is still my favorite meetup, or presentation that I organized, was having Kodatso present Machinkura. We were only 10 of us who showed up for the presentation. It was in one of the smaller rooms at l'Université Ouvrière de Genève, UOG. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, kind of nervous the first time. And so he started talking about the feature phones and the problems that they faced and whatever. He did the presentation. And then, so again, this is beyond my pay grade. He started to talk about Frost, and Palto just lit up, and they started talking back and forth about Frost. Palto and Kodatso have two different backgrounds completely, but they both speak the same sort of like developer coding computer science language, and they just went back and forth, and I was like, this is really cool. This is really worth, the sacrifice and the trade-offs of getting my husband to rearrange his business trips so that I can be here for free organizing these meetups, because the exchange of ideas and the potential is just, it's everything to me. And then things kind of evolved in a way that I was like, I can't sacrifice consistent time and all the sort of little things you have to do to schedule people, and they cancel and whatever. So yeah, but anyways, that's why I started to organize the presentations there.
So cool. I don't know if that's the right kind of English, but I just wanted to say, just be careful when you touch your table, because it makes the camera move.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So animated. Okay. Sorry.
You're passionate. That's great. What does your fitness routine look like, and how do you balance physical well-being with work, Bitcoin podcast, and family time?
So I find balance in I have one sort of group activity a week. And that is something that I've had to coordinate again with my husband because of childcare. And so now it's judo. Before I had a baby, I would do at least one yoga class a week, one Pilates class, and one hike up the Salev a week, 6 kilometers. Amazing. I was like,
Wow.
It checked all the boxes. And then obviously things have changed. And so there are times when I'll go to a lunchtime Pilates class on the Reformer. My judo class is really good because we do a lot of push-ups, sit-ups, core work, that core strength that you need in order to have good balance and do grabs and stuff like that. And then so that's my one class a week. And then it's a matter of do I have 20 minutes or do I have 30 minutes? And so I will either do push-ups, sit-ups, and squats, or on a Saturday morning I'll go for a run. I'll try to do 5 kilometers, which is not always consistent. And I walk a lot. I prefer to walk than to take my car. So I try to do that. And I still wear my my Apple Watch. I've closed every single ring, or all my rings, every single day since 2022. December 31st, 2022. So this December, it'll be 2 consecutive years that I've closed my rings every day, and yeah, it helps to remind me.
What is closing your rings?
Apple Fitness. I'll show you.
Yeah, that scares me. That stuff. So explain me.
It is.
Yeah, I don't.
They have. So they have this fitness app. I'll show you. Yeah, December 30th. They have a fitness app, and this is when I traveled back from Toronto. I couldn't close my rings because I was exercising, but you challenge yourself to do at least a few minutes of exercise every single day. You have to burn a certain amount of calories every single day, and you have to stand for a certain number of hours every single day. Whoa. And so I set my objectives, and because I am addicted to streaks, as you can see, and because I cannot function properly unless I exercise, and also because I was like, I don't want to talk about pregnancy and giving birth too much, but a woman's body changes. And I thought that I would snap back and fit into all of my lovely clothes before getting pregnant. And with COVID, with the change of routine, with a lot of things, I had to really struggle to find my new system. And so it took me like 3 years to really track down what it is I will do. And in that 3 years, I discovered the Apple Watch. And so it was just sort of an external element that helped me to get back on track. And so my fitness routine is really, judo is super helpful. Push-ups, sit-ups, squats. And then on the weekend, I'll try to go for a run or something. And I try to meditate as much as possible. Maybe for like 5 minutes of just closing my eyes and like breathing and stuff.
Cool. I know if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But like it was yesterday evening with my roommates, we were like brushing our teeth, and so it was like, do you want any kids? And I was like, yeah, I want 4 or 5 kids. And it's like, wow, I think it's so selfish to just have this number in my head and not considering, like, for example, that for the woman, it's a huge thing. That's not nothing. Like you said, it takes, for example, 3 years to get back to your...
It took me. Some women are amazing and they snap back quickly. Sorry.
Yeah, but just to not be too selfish in our position as men. To like, I want 5 kids and I don't care. I will find someone who's going to take 5 kids. Like, I think it's good to know what you want, and I don't see it as selfish. As long as you communicate that to your partner very well at the right time, so that hello,
exactly. Hey, you look good. I want 5 kids, but at the right time, so that you don't waste too much time, but you don't like scare her away immediately. Like I don't know what the balance is, but it's there. Yeah. But I think it's it's good to know what you want and to communicate that, because some women. I know of a few women who would love that scenario. And I actually know of a few women, it's not very popular, but who love being a mom, who love motherhood. And because it is not glamorized in society, they don't necessarily share that with people. So, if you will find the right person, obviously, but, if you share that at the right time, I think it's, I think it's fair.
Cool. That's a good one. Many Bitcoiners tend to reconnect with nature and spirituality. So you already said that you meditate. Do you pray or have any specific self-development practices? And what's your approach to self-care?
I grew up again Christian and going to church, and I went through a rebellious period where I was like, whatever. And I can say that again, it's a combination. I think it's really the combination, being a mom, COVID, and Bitcoin together, the luck or the chance of having 3 big things like this happen in my life at around the same time really forced me to sort of...
I wouldn't call it luck. I wouldn't call it luck because you attracted this. So
yeah. Well, I didn't attract COVID and the lockdown.
Yeah, but you've made, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. I did.
Like you underestimate the fact that you created this life. I felt that. That's what.
You know, my husband tells me that too. And so it's
Yeah.
And I think it probably relates to my understanding or the way I was raised with respect to spirituality. I just think that it's important to acknowledge. Oh my God, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
That whew, there is something bigger than me. You know what I mean? Like, it's that when you experience certain things and you realize that as much as I want to control everything and as aggressive and as enthusiastic than I am, there's still something bigger than me that really, it always like makes me feel this way, especially being a mom. Like, not being able to do everything for my daughter is like, it's a blow to my ego. And so, yeah, surrendering to a higher power. And so, you know, I grew up Christian. I used to go to church every single Sunday, and then I stopped, and now I'm just like, yeah, God, you win. You know what I mean? Like, I surrender completely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's beautiful. Yeah, it's important to talk about this. So, what do you do for work, and what did you do before that, and your academic background? And if you want to share more about who is Saida outside of Bitcoin. So we discovered a lot today, but yeah. Please continue.
So, general statement, Saida outside of Bitcoin is everything and nothing, like very difficult to fit in one box. So for work, I still do a bit of diversity and inclusion consulting, but I'm really trying to grow my podcast and like explore other opportunities in the Bitcoin sphere. And then I've done like other types of consulting as well, business consulting. So I'll do work and then academics. And then I worked in oil and gas for like, 10 years. And I started when I moved to Geneva in 2008. And then when I was in Toronto, I quit my job as an executive assistant to the CEO of a medical cosmetic center that specialized in laparoscopic banding. And then, I quit. I moved to Geneva. And then before that, I worked as a communications assistant for Elections Ontario, and I worked at American Express. That was my first job coming out of university. And then in university, I did a lot of different things because I was determined not to take on a student loan. And so when all of my friends decided that they wanted to, take the route that suited their life. Again, I negotiated with my parents and I saved, because I started working when I was 13 or 14 years old. And so I've always saved my money. And then in university, I had 3 part-time jobs as a teacher's assistant at a banquet hall on the weekends, Easttown, where I got paid in cash.
What? A bank? What?
A banquet hall. Hosting birthday parties.
What's that?
A banquet hall is a hall where people will rent out space for birthday parties or for weddings and stuff. And it was a Sri Lankan banquet hall, which was totally dope. I got to wear like a sari and a bindi and learn some dances and stuff. It was so cool. I did that on the weekend, and then from time to time, some evenings I would work in a call center. And so, and that's because I was driven to not take on student debt. And then during the summers, I was so lucky. I did television commercials, and I did like a music video and stuff. I'm part of the Actors Union in Toronto, and I still get residual checks which goes into cross-border payments and remittances and stuff. And so, yeah, so professionally, that's what I did. And the through line is really like, I've always saved money. And then academically, so I've got my MBA, so my master's in business administration. I think it was in 2014. I did my CGA level 1. So it was accounting, economics, and I forget what the third thing is. But it's a requirement if you want to sell real estate in Toronto. And for my undergrad, I did a Bachelor of Arts in Translation Studies, so languages. And yeah, and then of course, along the way, I have like different professional certificates and stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. Impressive. Outside of the well-known couple Max and Stacy, do you know other Bitcoiner couples? And should we create a Bitcoin Tinder one day?
I don't know of any like official Bitcoin couples. Do I know? I ask people on my podcast, so very recently I asked Man Like Quakes what his wife thinks of Bitcoin, and he was like, she gets it now. So I guess there are a few Bitcoin couples, but they're sort of emergent Bitcoin couples. They weren't like Bitcoiners and then, they didn't get together. And I think a Bitcoin Tinder would be cool, but it would have to be done in such a way where there's a screening process to see if the people are legit Bitcoiners, so that you don't get a male or female gold digger who are just there to get with like a wealthy Bitcoiner. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Because so there has to be some sort of screening process. I know that if like I were single,
a proof of history, a proof of work.
Exactly. Like there has to be something. If I were single, I would definitely go to Bitcoin conferences, and I would definitely say,
"What?
I'm already interested in this. I talk about this 24/7. So it would be great if my partner were the same."
I mean, for me, I feel like, and I try. No, I don't try. I do. I orange peel people. So that's what I do. But except from the real Bitcoiners, I don't see in the eyes of people I orange peel that they understand that Bitcoin is a real thing and that people are getting wealthy for real with Bitcoin, especially if they're here for a long time. So I don't think that women or men, whatever, would think about going to Bitcoin conferences if they're not Bitcoiners for, meeting wealthy people. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So I have this sentence from Jeff Booth, who lives rent-free in my mind, and he uses it as in the end of every argument that he has. So he always says, if Bitcoin stay decentralized and secure. And so for me, it refers to the fact that if people invest in Bitcoin, but they don't self-custody and they don't run a node, which is easy by the way, they kind of destroy the philosophy and potentially create a world where the value proposition of Bitcoin cannot be delivered. So my question to you is, do you think that in our podcast, we should suggest to people to go on and do self-custody and run their own node, and why?
Yes. And how do I answer this? Because, that is the whole point of Bitcoin. Obviously self-custody, obviously running your own node, peer-to-peer. And if I take a step back and I'm totally honest, I just spoke about Fountain and Toonster and Zapstream, where there are custodial services involved, especially, I should say specifically with respect to the Lightning Network, because running Lightning in self-custody is not always easy. There are solutions available. Like, I need to play with Alby some more, but, you know, there's a node there, but, you know, that's in the cloud. Like, it's not, so I would say, yes, of course, we have to encourage self-custody, and we have to tell people, I mean, self-custody is just a given, but we have to tell people to run their own nodes. And I would also say
you said, you say that, you said that self-custody is a given, but I'm not going to mention anyone, but I know people who goes to even Bitcoin meetups and say that they are Bitcoiners, but they don't self-custody. And there are, I think, more than what people think. And for the running a node, I think just to plug your node, buy the hardware and plug in, it's extremely easy. I don't mean to do the things that you say, to interact with the node and to get paid and use Lightning, but just to set up a node is extremely easy. It's easier than self-custody. So I'm just saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy. And like, for example, when I bought my first Raspberry Pi, like many years ago, it took forever for all the blocks to download, you know? And so, and this is my first time doing it. So it's like, oh, is this working? Am I doing this right? What's wrong? You know? And then you spend a lot of time on GitHub, digging through, trying to figure out how to troubleshoot and stuff. Like, it can be super easy, or there could be glitches, but I'm thinking of like telling people, and I'm also thinking of obstacles that may come in their way. For people who go to the meetup and don't self-custody, I don't understand why some. I don't know what to say.
Can I tell you what I think?
Sure.
And I think a lot of problems in the world comes from that. It's a lack of self-love for me. It's like a self-saboting kind of thing. I don't know. Like, people that knows the risk of not self-custodying. There are real Bitcoiners that have done the work, but they don't doing it, or they're doing it wrong, or they have a really bad strategy. So for me, I'm on my way to create 3 Bitcoin online training program, and I want one for Bitcoiners, because I'm angry at the fact that Bitcoiners have no inheritance plan. For me, that's a lack of self-love, all of that. So yeah, that's my response.
I don't know.
It's maybe toxic, but I don't know.
Are you sure they're not trying to like throw you off a path to say that they don't self-custody? Because it was only 2017, but it feels like forever ago. When I was coming up, it was like, you don't talk about anything related to your personal stack. Like, that was no number one. And then, you know, I mean, so I'm speaking about my learning. You learn how to custody in a way that minimizes like the $5 wrench attack risks. So then you start talking a little bit more, you know, and so.
What's that? I don't know.
The $5 wrench attack, or with inflation, $10 or $15 wrench attack. It's the idea that someone can just take a wrench, like, you know, the hardware tool, and hit you over the head, or threaten you to demand your seed phrase.
Okay.
Do you know?
That was a thing? No, but I don't know this story or this.
Oh, yes.
That's the first time. What the fuck is that?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think things have evolved in such a way where now everyone speaks openly about, you know, about possessing Bitcoin, or having some sort of like multi-sig setup somewhere, which I think having a multi-sig setup kind of liberates you, because if someone tries to attack you and demand what your seed phrase is, you're like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like you're not going anywhere with it. So, but I guess when did multi-sig start to become more prominent? Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Before that, it was, you don't tell anyone anything to do with like the stack that you could have or anything, because there's the risk that someone will try to assault you physically. And I mean, now on X I see people posting balances and I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, you don't do that.
That just made me think about crypto shitcoins or whatever, the other crypto, I will say, where I did last year an online school. So that's the best crypto school. So I wanted to know everything about crypto. I did this 3 months program. For me, it was a way to say, okay, I don't want to go all in Bitcoin before I understand crypto globally. And so we had teachers who were like sharing their addresses and we could see everything. And I was like, am I the only one who find it really, really weird?
Was it a test net or was it their legit?
No, they're legit. Like people follow them and they follow their addresses, etc. And it's like, it's really, really weird to me. But anyway, I'm happy to be all in on Bitcoin, and I just want to help as many people. And I think that there is a lot of things to discuss. And yeah,
it's a good point. It's like address reuse. I learned basics, like you never reuse the same address, never, ever, ever. And then Twitter released the tips function where you can have a Bitcoin address. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to use that ever because it's address reuse. Like, this is a big no-no. Like, this is like 101. And I was shocked at the number of Bitcoiners who actually have the feature enabled. OGs, people who are very like experimented. And I'm like, it took me like a year and a half to say I have it on the Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions account, because I'm like, maybe things have changed, but above and beyond, no one has actually tipped me. And I figure, if I get a tip, I'll just like try to change the address right away so that anyone on X can't go and look at my history. But the point still is that X has that information and they can retrieve those addresses at will. No one is going to send you like 10 Bitcoin on X, we agree. Mistakes could happen. You could be lucky, but still, like I find that the culture around, I guess, privacy is shifting.
Yeah, I was discussing that on my Instagram story lately because there is a lot of concern about AI and ChatGPT, etc. And so for Bitcoiners who ask questions about personal stuff with their ChatGPT, with their AI, it just destroyed your non-KYC anonymity that you're trying to get, because they have your information, they have the question and the exchanges that you have. But hopefully there is a lot of Bitcoiners who are building AI, Alexis Vetsky, something like this, and also another one who went to the What Bitcoin Did podcast. They're building their AI product, so that's cool. Anyway, thank you a lot. Not 10 minutes, I think, but it was great.